Hello.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Dale.
Ashley.
We have a big agenda today.
We do. Look at us go.
I saw Wanda there for a bit. You still there, Wanda?
I saw Wanda. I see my yogi friend, Laura. Hi, Laura. Hi, Wanda. Where's the rest of our crew?
We're waiting for Ellen and John
And Donna.
and Donna.
We don't have a quorum yet.
We don't.
Niles, we haven't seen you for a long time.
Happy Tuesday. Good to see
Yeah.
you all. How's the weather down there in Carmel? I'm headed down in a couple hours.
Your typical, it's half gloomy, half gloomy.
Yeah. It's my birthday this weekend, and I saw it's going to be raining, so it's a little unfortunate, but you know, it's still beautiful down there, even when it is raining.
There's John.
And there's Donna.
Yay, we have a quorum. We can play.
And there's Ellen.
All right. I don't see them, but I saw them check in, so.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ellen.
Morning.
Morning, John. All right, and I saw Donna pop to somewhere, so. All right, it's 9:30. Shall we get started since we have everyone? Okay, so Leslie's here. Roll call, please.
Linda Calafiore.
Present.
Donna Jett.
Thought I saw her pop in.
Donna's muted.
I can't see her, so I don't know.
She's waving. I see
Yeah,
her.
she's here.
Okay.
Present.
Ellen Martin.
Present.
John Mysick.
Present.
Judy Referzo.
Here.
All here. Okay, just a reminder to mute yourself when you're not talking because we have a lot of people today. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Next on the agenda is public appearances for anything that's not appearing on today's agenda. Anyone like to speak? I guess not. Ashley, I can't see everyone. Can you?
No, Laura has her hand raised.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
she
can't.
does. And you guys, we do have a lot of people on the call. You can change your display for the number of people that you see. It
Okay.
defaults to 15. Let's see if you go to the,
Show everyone. I got it.
yeah, there you go. That way you
Okay.
can see. Everybody's a little bit smaller, but then you can see everyone. Anyway, yes, Laura, please.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I was just invited by Dale, and I wanted to just take a moment to introduce myself for those of you that might not know me. So I'm Laura McKinnon, and I'm the owner of Seaside Yoga Sanctuary. Our physical studio is located on the 3rd floor of the plaza. We've been here since 2018. And with COVID, like everyone else, we've had to do a lot of changes and shifting. And so I just wanted to take the time this morning to express my extreme gratitude to everyone who has supported our ability to take our classes outdoors. So since September, we've been able to utilize the Forest Theater for some of our morning classes. We've also been at Folktail Winery on Sunday mornings. But it's just been an incredibly beneficial thing for us to have this outdoor venue, not just for the sake of the studio itself, but all the students that come and still take classes with us. So really just wanted to say thank you for all of the support that everyone has offered from the city and the Sunset Cultural Center and other people behind the scenes. So the other thing that was mentioned to me, should you be willing to have me on another meeting in the future, I'd be happy to do a brief presentation, just a little bit more about who we are as a studio, and definitely we're trying to explore other outdoor options for bringing even more classes to the community.
Thank you, Laura. Good to see you.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I'm not seeing anyone. Announcements from commissioners? No announcements from commissioners. All right, announcements from staff.
I have just one announcement, and that is a follow-up item. Thank you, Leslie, for reminding me. Commissioner Calafiore had asked how successful our posting of the Homecrafters was on the city website. So I went back and took a look at the analytics, starting with the launch of our Homecrafters and Shop Local page, so promoting our local retail businesses and our Homecrafters, since we could not have the Homecrafters Marketplace this year, and that launched on the 9th of November, and then I ran that report through mid-January of 2021. We had 954 page views for that page alone. It was one of our most popular pages during that time frame. 662 of those were unique, so we had return people coming back, and that was something that Leslie and I heard when we had questions about that. Oh, I'm going to go back and buy some more from my favorite vendor. So that was quite successful in terms of our page views. So great idea, everybody. I'm really glad that we did this, and good job.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ashley, for that update. So next year, everyone will be happy again, hopefully in person.
Yes, hopefully happy in person. And if not, Leslie and I archive that page so it's saved. So hopefully we'll reach out to our vendors again if we are in the same position and do the same thing, since that was so successful.
Did any of the vendors contact you afterwards and say, thank you that, I got a lot of sales or anything like that? Or did you hear from anybody?
I don't think so. Leslie, did you hear from anyone?
I did not. I heard from a couple when we put it up that they were very thankful that we were doing this, but after the fact, nothing.
Okay.
It might be worth reaching out to them and seeing how effective it was on their end.
If we don't do it in person this year, maybe we can get up at 4:30 in the morning in solidarity and do like a Zoom or something.
That sounds fun.
All right. Let's move on to orders of business. The first one is approval of the minutes. Do I have anyone?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
I'll give it to John.
Leslie, are you going to take?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Calafiore,
Yes.
Jett, Yes. Martin,
Yes.
Mysick,
Yes.
and Refugio.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, receive a presentation on the farmer's market. Yay, from Niall and Raul. So let's go. I love it. I'm excited.
Happy Tuesday, all. Thanks for taking this time to let us talk a little about the market. We're really excited about the growth, and with everything that's been going on this year, it was a little, I know we shut down there for a bit, but I think that the market has grown, and the community seems pretty happy about it. So we're excited to be a part of it. Let me share this little slide that we put together. Start.
While Niall's getting the slide together, I'd like to touch base on the growth of the market. Oh, here we go.
Can everybody see it? Sorry about that. Awesome. Is that a thumbs up? Sorry. Just cool. Raul, go ahead and you can chat a little bit about the vendors and all the work that you've done.
Okay. So when we took over the farmers market this last January, before, in the before time, we have 7 original vendors from the previous market leadership. Up till today, our farmers market roster goes between 35 and 38 vendors. We have different meat selections, as in fish, chicken, beef, goat. Coming soon, we're going to have duck, rabbit, a little more beef, and some pork options, as well as quail and rabbit for like a more niche dynamic, and duck. And yeah, our market ecosystem seems nice right now. Our vendors are really happy in the community, and it's nice to see the growth of the market and the vendors within the community. Hearing people being called by their first name or having a lot of positive interactions. I know I see some of you folks at the farmers market, and it's really nice to it's really nice to see everyone involved, and have a couple more organic farmers coming in the future, and with that, we also have some community. We recently added on Chase Jones, who's a recent graduate of Carmel High, and he's also a member of the Carmel Presbyterian Church, which I think is really great to add to the community dynamic. I know his aunt works in the library, and you'll see his mother walking around town, and it's just really nice to be out there.
Yeah, I'm excited for the new vendors. I know that some people, for rabbits, it's a little touchy subject because they can be a pet as well. So we won't be marketing that too much, but we just want to make sure that there's a variety of options out there for the customers at the Carmel-by-the-Sea Farmers Market. So one of the things we really want to focus on this coming year is the connection with the community and really utilizing the park as a gathering space and as a tool to kind of showcase what's going on in the community and different initiatives. So there's been a couple organizations that have reached out, the Carmel Youth Center, and a couple others that we're excited to have out in the park. In the future, once we kind of see when events coming back, love to do some cultural celebrations, maybe some fundraisers with local chefs. I think that could be a fun idea. We've had a couple of the restaurant owners come out and really excited about the growth of the market and just the new upcoming generation. To see a lot of younger faces of the vendors, which I think people really appreciate as well. And we've had a couple different local younger musicians. You know, sometimes they get a little excited. I know I was out there and they were singing Brown Eyed Girl, and they kind of, it was a little louder than a typical, but I think that's good to have that young, vibrant energy going forward. So we still have our other musician as well, who's been there for years, and we kind of separate them. So it's been neither of them had an issue. We've been looking at doing some tote bags. I know we do not promote any kind of plastic use at the market, and do not ask our vendors to give out any plastic. So doing some reusable totes that are more accessible in our white trailer that is the info booth, and working with local vendors for the artwork. So these are 2 graphics that have been put together by 2 local artists. So we are going to start offering those as bags in the future. That we're excited back to hear some of your guys' feedback on that. And then lastly, one thing that we really want to focus on is expanding our customer base. We are approved to take EBT. So we really want to make that more known, especially for the senior community who has EBT and is in the retired community, and utilizing their EBT at the market. So we're working on getting the tokens and creating a program that should be up and running in the next month. So we're excited to have that. And potentially do some artists in action, have some like live murals or live paintings, kind of touching back on the musicians. I really think that, as we all know, Carmel has this history of art and music, and kind of revitalizing that in the farmers market is kind of our vision. And hope that you guys hope you like that. So if you have some feedback or thoughts or questions, please let us know.
All right, I'll open it up to questions to the commission, and then we'll take it to the public. So any commissioners have any questions? Thank you, Niall, for that. Was a beautiful presentation, and Raul, thank you so much. Linda?
Well, thank you. I'm excited about the market. I pretty much don't go to the Friday market anymore, which I'm happy to report. The Thursday market suits all my needs, and I love the energy, love the growth. And again, I can't wait for us to do things in the park. A couple questions. We had talked when we first had the preliminary interview about possibly looking at an hour change, changing the times. Is that anything that anyone, now I'm not saying we want to do that. I mean, I personally think it's worth looking at pushing it a little bit later so that we capture, more afternoon people. But has anyone else suggested that might be a good idea? Have you talked about it?
Actually, so when we were doing the logo run, one of the artists made a logo with a moon in it. I was like, oh, I like that. And we've kind of talked about doing a later afternoon, possibly, idea of like kind of a night market. But those just get into more event-esque. And so we kind of wanted to hold off. But I think it'd be a really cool idea to do like third Thursdays and doing our market maybe extended hours from 10 and see if the vendors would stay as late as 6. Or we could take off the morning market on the third Thursdays and change the whole hours from not doing 10 to 2 and maybe doing 3 to 6 instead. But that's something we're definitely open to. But we haven't dug too much into it because I feel like night markets tend to be more event-esque.
Yeah, no, I think that one day a month option might be a way to handle it. But anyway, glad you're thinking about it. Yeah, I would just encourage that we do look at pulling the afternoon a little later, whatever that means. Okay, the other question I had was, how are you tracking sales for the at the vendor booths?
That's a good question. One thing that some organizations will be very you can because there's nothing that says the vendors has to tell you the sales. And there's some vendors that don't want to give you that information, you know? So Raul does a good job after every marketing goes by and asks all the vendors, like, how'd they do today? And, honestly, they've all been saying that, oh, it's a great day. And I think that's kind of how we've been monitoring our management and our marketing. As for specific details on their sales, some of them are our friends. So we'll get in, they'll kind of tell us, oh, I did a little, a couple extra $100 today, or, I doubled my sales from, last week. But it's all kind of word of mouth, and it's not really tracking in a way because a lot of vendors hold that kind of close. So
I'm going to interrupt you 1 second, only because I need to answer my doorbell because my handyman's here, and I'll be right back. Next question.
John, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just I would echo support for Linda's comments. My kids love going. The problem is I have to quietly have them miss a period of Zoom. And ideally, it would be something like, maybe it's a third Thursday where there's an afternoon period in it. I don't know what time it goes till, but it's something that allows kids come from after school, and it maybe allows us to have snacks. My kids love the nitro lemonade or the pastries, but you could even do something cool where, every week you've got a special symbol, and if they find it in one of the booths, they get little lollipops or something, and it gives them a way to interact. But I think, what I've seen is they're super excited the weeks that we take them to the market. But honestly, with school, most kids can't do it, and I don't feel right doing it every week. And so if we could find a way to make it consistent, I think that'd be a really neat thing to get the families more involved. And then if it's in the afternoon, your kids are helping you pick out what's for dinner. The other component of this, which is so important, I think this is one of the reasons we all love it, is you meet the purveyors. And our kids walking around Safeway have no idea where something comes from, or, that this is how something could be grown organically. And I think walking around and meeting the folks that are, cultivating the food, it's really important for them to learn as well about how that food finds its way to the table. So more of that for the community, I think, would be great, even if it's just 1 week a month.
Yeah, I love that, the educational aspect of it. And I know that, sorry, go ahead, Donna.
No, I was going to say, if once a month you could just extend it to 4, and then that would give the youth center maybe a chance to come over as a learning, and also to participate once in a while, and are the schools. And I agree, the night thing, there's problems with it because of Adventure-esque. And so, but once a month, and just add, if they would stay 2 hours, what they thought would be a certain Thursday that would be beneficial, and try to incorporate that before you even change hours.
Yeah, that's something that I'll definitely run by with Raul, and we'll talk to all the vendors and kind of get some feedback and have a little report in the next couple of weeks, and we'll share with Ashley so that you guys can kind of see if that's something that all the vendors would be into. But I think it would be. And I definitely hear the aspect of, when things get back to normal, that a large part of the community, even a lot of our typical hourly 9-to-5 workers can't make the market. People that live close to it, or work close to it, can come to the market, stop by it for lunch, but we're really targeting a small market by having those hours. The one concern I do have is getting later into the days is how the restaurants will like that idea. So yeah, we'll do a little deeper dig on that.
Yeah, I think another survey is in order, especially since I was looking at our strategic plan goals and thinking about all of that, and looking back to on what we've done so far with the farmers market for this 1-year update. We did, prior to going out for the RFP process, do a survey that asked about people's satisfaction with the market, their satisfaction with the hours, to help inform that request for proposals and the questions that we asked in the interview. And it wouldn't hurt to do some sort of very simple 3-question survey like that to ask, just check in with the community and see where they are, especially if we are starting to think about shifting hours, even if it's one day a month.
So Leslie, Ashley, would you send that out in the Friday letter? Would it be at the farmer's market? Of course, if it's at the farmer's market, then that only captures the people who are able to come. So
it would be everywhere. And that's what we did last time. We had sent it out to, we sent it out through the library's newsletter, the Friday letter. The Carmel Residents Association was kind enough to post it on their website and send it out to their members. Same with the Chamber of Commerce. So we got it out everywhere we could possibly do. And we did go and do surveys at the market as well. So I would do the same sort of effort. And I will work with Niall and Raul as part of a larger conversation on that. But I think that might be just a very simple, helpful thing to do.
Linda?
On one of the slides, there was a comment about lunches, which I just wanted to say that I think that's a fantastic idea. You have to really work with the restaurant community on that. So there's a lot of support for that, but I don't know, the rotating idea. I think it would really attract another element of clients.
Yeah, we are currently talking to a couple restaurants. Ken Spilfo came by the market and he was really excited. So we're going to talk with him. We're talking to Alvarado Brewery or Alvarado Brewery and Bistro. Is that what they're called now? I think they had to change the name. But so yeah, we have a couple of the restaurants that we're talking with. So we're excited on that.
Ellen?
Hi, this is Ellen. So I really like Donna's suggestion to maybe just have a longer hour on one day, because I feel like if you change the hours on one day, the marketing and the community really knowing that and getting that, because farmers market is kind of like, at least for me, I've got it on my calendar where they are. And so if I miss one, I hit the other. But of course, I always go to Carmel's. Yeah. And then I just wondered if, I love the shell design because that invokes Carmel. I'm just wondering if you do change the hours, if you do, when you're doing your marketing, I think that having a poster at the post office would be a really great way to get that out without spending a lot of money. So, thanks.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, and I'm glad that you liked the shell. I think the Carmel shell is the cool one. The mural on the wall is really awesome. I know there's always people taking pictures in front of it. It's one of my favorite things when I'm at the market and just kind of people watching and seeing people like taking pictures in front of the trailer or at the market. And like, there are these Instagrammable moments of like, I don't know, it's just really cool thing to see. So yeah, thanks for that feedback.
This is Ellen again. I'm sorry, I kind of left the meeting accidentally. But another thing about the food is really great. Different cities have those food trucks, not necessarily here, but in the Bay Area and other metropolitan areas where one night a week or whatever food trucks go. And I'm not advocating food trucks, but that would be a really great way to market it is, get your dinner here, Carmel-by-the-Sea, and then what restaurants are there that month or week. Thanks.
I think that not tied directly to the market, but as things open up, we'd really like to work with Ashley and the community activities about doing some dinners in the park and some kind of fundraisers with different local restaurants where we make the park a place where we can really celebrate different cultures and foods and cuisines, do flavors of Italy, or we can work with a lot of different of the restaurants and they all can make a certain dish. And I think that there's a lot of things that we can get into, and that's what our expertise is up in the Bay Area. We manage a lot of cultural celebrations and events. So we have some knowledge and experience with that. It's just, we're really, it's as we look into the future, it's exciting, but I think we're still a little whiles away from
Yeah, I think we're a little while away from that too, but it'll be exciting and something
We're
to look
very
forward to. Yeah. So shall we open this up to public comments? If anyone in the public would like to say anything about the farmers market? Dale?
I'll say something.
Okay.
Great presentation, guys. And I know that my wife and I love the market. All of our friends have been giving us very positive comments lately. And everybody's very disappointed when they forget it and they don't get there. So I've been loving the ceviche. I get 2 of them every week. Oh my God, is it
that's
good?
awesome.
It's
Celebrate
fantastic.
with a little oyster.
And I love the idea of having the restaurants involved. You guys know that I've been working with, I'm working with 21 restaurants right now. They're making 550 meals a week for people out in Salinas and Marina and Seaside. So I'd love to help any way I could with that effort. And I know the restaurants would all love to be involved in something like that. Our amazing restaurants, by the way, they're just incredible people that love to help and make a difference. So we're going to hopefully keep this whole thing going, and I'd love to be part of that.
That's amazing that you're spearheading that, Dale. That's really, really cool. We're doing something similar up in the Bay Area with Facebook, and they're funding 500 meals a week to different underserved communities and purchasing them from restaurants. So I'd love to talk with you a little more about that offline and just kind of see how that works for you and see how we can kind of maybe assist in something like that.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Okay. Hello, this is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it Joe?
This is Joe Tot. I'd like to make some comments.
Sure.
I wasn't able to get my video on for some reason. The microphone didn't come on, so I'm just talking from my phone now. But I would like to compliment, because I go to the farmers market every week, unless there's rain. But Raul was doing an excellent job, and he's really working very hard now. He has his helper Chase, who is a lovely addition. I wanted to suggest, before we make any big changes, I don't mean big changes, but any changes right now, that we maybe have our committee to talk this over. I know questionnaires are nice, but you're not getting enough sort of talking about what we can do as far as adding anything to the farmers market. Because there is a sheet that has all of the things that were decided when we first opened the farmers market, and it would be great if we could go over some of those things before we make any additional changes. As far as changing the hours, that it's a nice idea, but you have to think about the traffic as far as the vendors coming and going, and also about the restaurants and the businesses, whether they would really appreciate the idea of our hours changing. So that's why I think it would be great if we had a committee to talk about some of these things before any. And one of the, I guess the only restaurant that we have that's participating is the Subios, and the others have not come into that. And as far as putting on a 1 day a week for the time change, I think it would be confusing. If we could maybe put that in the committee talk and just discuss this before we really make any changes on that. And then also there's something in the original that says about we're supposed to have the farmers market rain or shine, and it doesn't seem that that's what we're doing. I know if it's very bad weather, of course, we're not going to have it, but maybe we could talk about that, see whether it is the market for rain and shine. And also the vendors, we've got wonderful vendors. I'm concerned about having duplicates are okay, but triplicates I don't think is a good idea because the market is not that large, and they're almost next to each other. And I think just for the vendors, it would be more, at least you'd be thinking about them so that we're not duplicating services. And as I talked about the traffic, And I'd like to see. I don't know. I'm not there in the afternoon, so I don't know. But before we had our market, the first market we had, that everybody in the city was at the market. I mean, it was like wall to wall people. I know we've got to think in terms of our to stay away with 6 feet, but it would be really nice if more of the people who worked here came to the to market. And I think, and the musicians, the musician idea, Raul, it's really great. And to have the different ages is wonderful too. That's a really lovely addition that was made. I think that's all. I wasn't able to see the chart because, as I said, I couldn't get my video on. And again, please consider that if any kind of time change or adding a new day, that we've got to think about the traffic for the vendors and also whether the businesses would really enjoy that. That's why I'm thinking it would be great if we could just have a committee to discuss some of these things again before we make any big changes. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I really do appreciate your feedback. I know from the start of the market, you've been there and supporting and letting us know past history. And I think those are all valid concerns. I don't think we're going to be making any decisions or changes anytime soon before we do a lot of surveys and talk with a lot of community members. So definitely hear you on that. And the one thing that I know that we do have a lot of flower vendors, but people love their flowers in Carmel. And I think Raul checks in with the vendors to see how they're doing and if they've been impacted. And they all have been doing really well and are, if the demand can meet we will continue to do that supply. One idea I thought would be really cool maybe in the future is doing a little, Carmel-by-the-Sea flower mart and kind of like putting the flowers like all in the park or something along those lines. So they're not taking up so much square foot of the actual market. But yeah, that's just an idea that we talked about a little bit. But yeah, go ahead, Raul.
May I make another comment about that? The flowers.
I just want to jump in here, Joe. You've had your 3 minutes, but also just a point of word. A lot of these things that we've discussed as a commission today are just that nobody's making any decisions, as Niall said. We're going to continue this talk. I'm going to continue working directly with Niall and Raul on, any ideas about flowers and our restaurant vendors. We are talking about these things. We meet weekly now. And then we bring these things to the Community Activities Commission just for updates at every meeting. And so this will be an ongoing conversation, as I said, between Niall and Raul and myself. And then we'll be bringing any surveys that we do before we do them to the Community Activities Commission. And this is the commission that will be discussing and approving any changes or new initiatives or anything for the farmers market going forward. So this is just, what they're doing here is just meant to be an update, looking forward to the future once the pandemic's over for the most part, because we're kind of stuck status quo, but we will be, this is a continuing and ongoing conversation as it has been.
And if I could just add on, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Do we lose Raul?
I think he's gone. Yeah. Oh,
there he is. I see him again. Raul?
If I could just add on, I know that we do have kind of duplicate vendors, and maybe she's talking about the bakeries, but we do take into account the ecosystem of the market, vendor morale, and maybe it's kind of in the same ballpark, these items that we have, but they're different. Everyone does different things, and I believe that options is better. We want to give people options, and that's really what I think is niche about the market. It might be small, but the options are there, and all the vendors seem to be happy, and the morale is higher than it's ever been. And I think it's going to continue to go that way, especially once the spring and the summer comes around, and after the coronavirus is more in a manageable situation. I think that it's kind of the sky's the limit, and the market is becoming its own little entity of everyone loves it. I know the community is out there, and it's a nice meeting place for people. It's a nice you get a little sense of normalcy, and I think that I just really enjoy the community atmosphere that has been created, almost like a grassroots kind of with the help of everyone here as well.
Linda?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that I don't think that duplication of vendors is at the critical mass yet. I mean, we're so glad to have the vendors that we have, and if they feel supported, I think we don't need to put that as a concern at this moment.
Agreed. All right. Anyone else in the public want to make any comments? Okay. Thank you guys so much. I do have one more question though. It does look like, and this kind of goes to Joe, it does look like rain on Thursday. Will we have a market?
The market is a go on this. The market is a go this Thursday. The only concern when it is rain is just the heavy winds that come with the rain. But if we're just looking at a downpour or showers here and there, the market will run as normal.
Great. Looking forward to being there. I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Be well.
Great update.
Bye.
All right, let's move on to receive a presentation from the Leadership Carmel Group on their Heart of Carmel project and conduct a preliminary discussion on the feasibility of the project and provide direction.
So I'm going to provide a brief introduction here as to why this is before the Community Activities Commission today. This is one of our kind of first considerations of art in public places. As you saw in my brief staff report, I provided some background information on Leadership Carmel. They're a professional development program through the Carmel Chamber of Commerce to build community knowledge and connect and build networks between individuals here in our community to make the community a better place, right up our alley. The leadership class is now working on their capstone project, and they're coming to us with a request regarding their Heart of Carmel project. So the planning department, myself, and public works department have been working with leadership group members on questions that we have about the project, related to placement and in public places versus private places. And one of the reasons this item is before the Community Activities Commission is that formerly there was a committee for art in public places. And this committee was a subset of the committee of the Planning Department or Planning Commission and the Community Activities Commission. This committee is no longer in place. So the responsibility for approvals to the exception for the policy C9701, which is the art in public places policy, now falls to the Community Activities Commission. The policy itself is a policy that was developed to govern the purchase of art for the city's art collection and the permanent installation, but it also does speak to temporary art installations, and it defines temporary as a couple of weeks only, so 2 weeks only. And the request from Leadership Carmel is for a 3 to 4 month installation. And I'll let them go more in depth on their full request for and details as to the Heart of Carmel project. But I just want you to all be aware of why this is before the Community Activities Commission at this point. I do think this is a good, so this is meant to be a preliminary review for the Community Activities Commission, first brush pass, as we work with Leadership Carmel on working out some of the details with regards to, again, placement, insurance, wind, how are the actual hearts secured in their locations. Some of the nitty gritty, not quite as glamorous types of things as working with artists and the art aspects of this. So this will be coming back to the Community Activities Commission at a subsequent meeting. And then I do intend, after speaking with the planning director, do intend to take this to the Planning Commission just for informational purposes for them once the Community Activities Commission has made their determination. So, and all details have been worked out. So that is that. And then just as a note, just as a side note for this commission and for members of the public that are listening, the Committee for Art in Public Places, as well as policy C97, do need updating. This is something that has been on my radar. And as we move forward, and I anticipate us getting, I think, spurred on even more by the pandemic, where we look to doing more activities outside, future requests for art in public places. And, if we're tying it in with the farmer's market, or people want to do murals that are on private property, I think that this project with Leadership Carmel is an opportunity. Aside from, we'll focus now on what they're asking and what their project is, but I would like to bring it back and perhaps incorporate it into the strategic plan to revise this policy and to build in a better mechanism for the review of public art. So with that said, Shannon is here, and she will be, and I see Wanda's here from Leadership Carmel as well. And so I'll let you guys take it away.
Perfect. Thanks, Ashley. Oh, Wanda, I think you're muted. Can you guys hear us? I couldn't hear Wanda speaking. Try again, Wanda. Nope. Nope. Okay, maybe now. Nope. I'm gonna just Wanda's gonna do an introduction. I'm gonna share my screen in a minute. We have a brief presentation as well. Some visual effects to go along with it. Wanda, you can probably just call in. I'm gonna just share my screen while she's. Are you guys able to see that screen? Okay, perfect.
I don't see the screen anymore. Did anybody else lose it, or did I just lose it?
No, it's black on my laptop.
Let's see.
Okay.
How about there?
That's better.
Okay, I'm just we'll have Wanda when she's able to call in, but I'll just kind of jump in and talk about what the project is, and then Wanda will jump back in a little bit more about Leadership Carmel and who we are. But so Leadership Carmel, it's a 9-month, like Ashley should give a great description of it, 9-month leadership program through the Chamber of Commerce in conjunction with Walking Tall, kind of a branding leadership program. And we've been tasked to come up with a legacy project to give back to the community. And after working now for the last 4 months, have come up with what is a temporary art installation called Heart of Carmel that features local artists through our community. So Heart of Carmel are these professionally painted hearts. They're about 52 inches by 52 inches. They're made out of resin, and they have a metal and a stone base at the bottom of them. The artists are going to submit an application and then be chosen from an artist selection committee that are made up from members of the community. And each heart is painted with acrylic to the unique style of each individual artist. There's also be a digital and a printed version of a little walking booklet and a map. You guys getting a lot of feedback there?
Wanda, I think,
Okay.
there we go.
So walking booklet and map that will be printed and digital copies that detail the location of each heart, as well as provide information for the sponsors of that heart, as well as the artist information. And at the base of each heart will be a plaque that again has the sponsor information and the artist information. The hearts will be on display during the summer months throughout Carmel for everybody to enjoy. And then the installation will conclude with an online auction. So people can purchase these hearts and then place them at their private residence or their place of business. The proceeds from the auction will go towards local organizations for youth scholarships. Both myself and Wanda, we both live in downtown Carmel, as do many of us that are on this leadership program. And we just felt it was really important with this project to connect different facets of our community. So this was one of those projects that were able to impact art, locals, tourists, and businesses, kind of all under one umbrella. So here we've got our proposed locations. We are aiming for up to and no more than 12 locations, but a couple that we've just put here on this list to give kind of an impact would be Carmel Plaza, Carmel Women's Club, the Carmel Art Association, and the Harrison Memorial Library. So both would be public and private locations throughout the city. And again, these photos throughout this presentation are examples of the hearts. They're not actually ones that are painted yet by artists here. And then here's our Leadership Carmel class. There are 11 of us. You've probably seen many of our faces around town. As I mentioned, many of us live in town, own businesses in Carmel, and just truly love this village and want to represent it as best we can, kind of going back to the artist roots that Carmel is. Wanda, are you able to jump in? Okay, no big deal. So again, Ashley, thank you for the introduction. As she mentioned, she and I and a couple other members have been in communication with her as well as Bob. But what we ask for you today is consideration to move this project forward. We hope to be on the Planning Commission meeting agenda for March. And then we do have a lot of, we can open it up to questions. I know we didn't go into detail on kind of the nitty gritty of everything, but happy to take questions and answer as best we can.
Thank you, Shannon, for that beautiful presentation. I'd like to open it up to questions for the commission, but I have some questions I'd like to start out with. And one of them is, what process did you guys use to come up with the hearts, and what are you going to do with the money, and what's happening here?
So we chose the hearts really because of what's going on in this pandemic, and thinking of Heart of Carmel, how do we bring some joy and just something that's a little bit different. And again, being that it's temporary, up 3 to 4 months during the summer, the heart just kind of evoked those emotions of unity and really bringing our community back together after kind of all the disconnect that we've been through with this pandemic. The proceeds at the end, we have designated a couple local organizations. We are working currently with the Women's Club on a youth scholarship. So part of the proceeds would go towards them. And then the other part of it would go back to the chamber, also for scholarships towards this Leadership Carmel program for future programs.
Okay, so did you engage with the community at all, or there was no engagement? You guys just...
The engagement so far has been just kind of talking with Ashley first. We've chatted with some local businesses, being that there's 11 of us, we've all kind of reached out. Jenny, obviously with the chamber, is very well involved with this, but it was kind of the Community Activities Commission that we wanted to start with you guys to go down the right avenues.
Okay, now they're going to be out, their hearts are outside, right? So they're going to be painted so that, this kind of reminds me, and you guys might be all too young, but when we first moved to Carmel, they did this with dogs.
Yep.
There were dogs and they all were painted all over, and they were in restaurants, and you went in and you bid on them. So my question, so obviously the paintings will stand up, the painted hearts will stand up to the weather, since, you know, fog and wet and all of this, right?
So once they're finished being painted, there is a local company here where they go into a spray booth and they have an acrylic coating that's put over them that holds up to weather. It holds up to, if they were to be graffitied, it can wipe right off of them. So they're very secure from those kind of things.
Okay, and then my only other question, and it probably isn't to you, it's probably to the Planning Commission, is you said people can buy them, bid on them, get them, and then display them on their property. I don't know. Planning Commission is very, I've seen people try to display art and sculptures on their property in Carmel and have them not allowed to. So that would be something else I would want, to be checked into before people are bidding on these things and I buy one and then they go, Judy, you can't have that in front of your house.
Absolutely, and that's an area with planning that we will explore. The other areas around the country that have done this have also had bidders from all over that have purchased them. So we could see them, going back to people that own properties maybe in Texas or, different areas of the country. But yes, that is an area to explore with planning.
Yeah. Okay. Donna, I saw you had a question.
Yes, the Hearts sponsorship. My question is, if I'm just saying Bruno's, our restaurant, wanted to sponsor a Heart, what is the financial commitment to sponsor a Heart if you only have 12? And yes, I was here and was on the group with the dogs, and the auction were limited because they didn't do them online. And I agree with what Judy's talking about, but I think most of the Hearts would leave town and our people would put them in their backyard. So I don't know that everybody would put them in the front yard. But what is the sponsorship commitment to purchase a Heart?
So we have 3 different levels of sponsorship. You could sponsor a full Heart, which is $2,000. And there's different perks that come within each level, but $2,000 would be full Heart, $1,000 would be a half Heart, and then a $500 sponsorship for a quarter Heart.
Okay. So if 4 people got together and they could buy a Heart and be a sponsor, because I think they'll be easy to find sponsors.
As do we.
We hope so too.
Yeah.
Linda?
Oh, but it's 2 steps, right? One is if you sponsor the Heart, and then the second step, is you buy the Heart? Or when
Correct. So the sponsors are sponsoring the Heart. They're in turn getting for the cost. Exactly. Then they're in turn getting recognition for their businesses. And then at the end is a separate auction that anyone could come and say, okay, and we'll also have a buy now option of, I love this Heart, I will buy this one now for $10,000 or whatever the number is that's set.
Okay, and could you, I know this is redundant, but could you summarize again about Leadership Carmel so we could articulate that?
Absolutely. Oh, Wanda, you're on.
I'm on. So sorry about that, everybody. Leadership Carmel is a 9-month leadership program that started in September and goes until May. And we're a team of 11 leaders that work together, and we go through each month. We have an all-day session, and it's a learning session. We're learning from community leaders, such as we had John Myfek as a guest on one. We're learning from city government, educational aspects, all different facets of Carmel-by-the-Sea. And at the end of our project, we present this legacy guest. So it's been wonderful. So does that answer your question, Linda? Okay, very good.
John?
Yeah, I mean, again, congratulations to Shannon, Wanda, and the whole group. I mean, I think this is great that you guys have come together to come up with ideas like this. My question is more towards the logistics, and I guess the question would be, and Ashley, help me out in terms of where we are in this process. But, obviously limited sidewalk space in Carmel. I just want to make sure that, and I'm in support of the project. I just want to make sure that from a logistics standpoint, in terms of right of way and how we manage the actual physical implementation of that side of this project. I'd be interested in who needs to kind of think about that, who's involved. Is that the city? Is that the planning commission? And how are we making sure that, this is installed such that it doesn't affect flow of traffic, especially knowing that we're only getting busier as we kind of reopen. This summer is probably going to be jammed more than we've ever seen, and we're still dealing with kind of separation issues in terms of, social distancing. So how are we thinking about that? Is that something we consider or need to make sure is being considered, or is that going to be done away from us and we're sitting here more as proponents or deciding on whether or not we want to put this forward?
John, that's a good question. So I did send the project off and Shannon's presentation to the Public Works Department. So Bob Herrera, our Public Works Director, took a look at this and sent back a number of questions that we'll work on. What I'd like this commission to do, once those questions have been answered by Leadership Carmel, is to approve the extension of timeline as a whole. And so we'd see all of these final components. What are the locations? What is the insurance? How are these being weighed down? You would have all of these details. This is an introduction for all of you to this preliminarily so that you can think about this project. But again, because of the way that policy C97 is written, we're kind of paving a new path here, and we are straddling 3 different departments because that policy gives us the charge to take a look at art in public places, but there are these other considerations, and it is very important for the Public Works Department to weigh in on any sort of encroachments in the public right-of-way if there is to be any of those, and also the Planning Commission to take a look at, yes, where are they now? What does it make the town look like, even if it's temporary, and to give us feedback as we move forward. Plus the additional issue of if people in town buy hearts and then want to install them in their yards, what are the ramifications of that? Is this going to be, are we allowing an activity or in that in the end is going to result in some heartbreak because now people can't put beautiful hearts in their front yard? So we're all going to be working together, the planning department, community activities department, and the Public Works Department, to work all the details out. And this will be coming back, I'm hoping, for our mid-February meeting for additional review by this commission, and we'll just go from there. If there's further details that we still need to work out, it'll be the beginning of March, and then we will try to get on the Planning Commission agenda when we can.
So I have 3 more things. So one of them is does Donna need to recuse herself, since I heard women's club? I don't know if that's an issue or not.
I think it may be, and I'll check in with the city attorney because, Donna, I'm not sure what your rank is in the women's club right now, and if you are part of their decision-making in terms of working with Leadership Carmel on this, but you may need to recuse yourself from this discussion about the Hearts Project.
And then the other 2 things, so then they'll come back with us to the period of time that they're going to be up, because as John was mentioning, right-of-way stuff, and I'm thinking Concours, are they going to be up during the same month? And is that going to be, if you put them in the park, that's where, so I just don't know so the time issue. And then I think you said up to 12, and is that based on the number of artists that you can find who want to donate their time? I'm assuming that's what they're doing. The artists are donating their time. Is that how it works? And how are you deciding how many hearts?
So the artists are going to receive a stipend actually from us to be able to do this.
Okay.
So it's not a pure donation on their end. They will receive a stipend. They will also receive the acrylic materials to paint the hearts. We came up with 12, and again, that number is fluid, just based on the approval process from both the city and public or private owners to make sure that we can get them. The artists that we've talked to, I don't think we'll have a problem with sponsors, and I don't think we'll have a problem with artists coming forward to want to paint these. It really came down to the approval process for the locations.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We also didn't want to overwhelm the city. We felt like 12 was, we didn't want a heart on every single corner, but 12 in very strategic places kind of made sense.
Okay. Donna, did I see you raise your hand again?
My question goes back to the hearts, and if I use Bruno's, if Bruno's sponsored a heart, are they able to choose their artist? I understand about the juried one, which I totally agree. So are they able to choose their artist is my other question.
So no, they're not. It would be all the applications for artists would go through a central artist selection committee, and then they would say, okay, this artist is going to be placed at Bruno's, so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, one more question on mine. When it comes down to the actual art on the hearts, is the design pre-approved by this selection committee such that we don't run into some issues?
Correct.
Absolutely.
100%.
We're very acutely aware of the taste and the peculiarities of Carmel-by-the-Sea.
Great.
All right, so shall we open this up to public comment? Ashley, are you seeing anyone?
I'm not, but Nancy put a comment in the comment box, and her question was, how will the artists be selected to participate? Nancy, I see you're unmuted now, so I'll let you speak for yourself.
Yeah, you didn't cover that at all. You just mentioned something just recently, but how will they be selected? Is it based upon their art, and who is the committee that would be involved in the selection?
So the artist will do a call for artists. We'll put it out in the Pinecone local publications. We have a Leadership Carmel Facebook page as well. So it'll go out publicly to all artists. They will submit an application with the design review. And then the members of this committee, which will be made up of a couple of us from Leadership Carmel, a couple local artists, and then a couple community members, will make the final juried selection.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Public comments? All right, well, thank you. That's a very nice presentation. I'm looking forward to working with you. Ashley said next time we'll have some of the answers.
Yes, we'll bring it back next at our mid-monthly meeting, because this is a project we want to keep moving. So we will bring it back for an update at our mid-February meeting. Or actually, we're mid-February now, but our next meeting, which will be 2 weeks from now.
Yeah,
Great.
we thank you for giving us time today, and to members of the community as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to receive a presentation of the 2019 to 2021 strategic plan from the Community Activities and Process for drafting the new strategic plan 21 to 24. Ashley.
All right. One of my favorite things, strategic planning. And hopefully your eyes will not glaze over. I'm going to double screen it and take over the screen with my big computer. So bear with me for just a second. And I will share my screen. Okay. So let's talk about our strategic plan. This was the first time, to my knowledge, that the Community Activities Commission, in any of its iterations, had a strategic plan. So bravo to all of you for bearing through this process. We developed this plan beginning in 2018 and completed it for adoption in 2019. This plan, the strategic plan goals were based upon goals that were identified by the City Council in their strategic plan, which was adopted in 2018, the fall of 2018. So we moved forward with our process from there. It was also grounded in our goals and objectives. So our goals and objectives were grounded in this mission statement that we have, which we worked on. This was updated in early 2018, that we went back and took a look at what we wanted to be as a commission, where we wanted to go. And so we updated our mission statement. Our mission is to encourage and support the interactions of neighbors, friends, families, and visitors through the shared experience of special events, programs, and gatherings, which bring the community together safely on the city streets and in its parks, and weave the fabric of our community by creating opportunities to interact, celebrate, and enrich people's lives and promote inclusiveness. So a big, long sentence, big mouthful, but I think we've been making some great strides to make this a reality for Carmel. In addition, we also ground this in our duties and responsibilities. And I just wanted to remind us of this. This is in the Muni Code, section 2.28. If you want a little light reading, our chapter is not that long. Our responsibilities outside of our mission statement are to stimulate and encourage community, cultural, and recreational activities, and to actively participate in the execution of these activities, to develop rules and regulations for conducting our business and meetings in accordance with the state and city laws, to advise and assist the community activities director, me, when requested, and other commissions and city public bodies with cultural and recreation programs. The perfect example of that is what we're working on right now with Leadership Carmel, to assist in the planning of community activities and recreational programs for the inhabitants of the city and its adopted sphere of influence, and stimulate public interest. Make ourselves aware and advise the city council on the uses of parks and other public spaces, including the beach, Vista Lobos, and Scout House, and make sure those are being put to their best use. Make ourselves aware of the condition of those structures and grounds, and make recommendations to the city council and the city administrator as needed if there are repairs or anything like that that we see that need to happen. And to determine, in consultation with myself, the community activities director, any terms of tenancy of those facilities as needed. So, and determine the rental rates. So right now, well, pre-pandemic and the before times, that was Vista Lobos that we were renting out. And then we serve as an advisory capacity to the city administrator and the city administrator, and you advise me as well in regards to the community activities and recreation matters here in the city of Carmel-by-the-Sea. So I just wanted to give us a refresher on, who we are, why we are, what we're doing. And I must say that when we started the strategic process, we weren't doing all of these things. We were just doing special events and looking at this list and reviewing it as I started thinking about this staff report and presentation. I'm absolutely thrilled. We are hitting almost every single one of these now in some way, shape, or form. So good job, everybody. We are really fulfilling our responsibilities, I think.
I just wanted to echo that the words are so impressive. I mean, I remember when we did this 2 years ago, but yeah, it really holds up the test of time. I'm happy about that.
Yeah. So other item of note for our previous strategic plan is that we used not only the council's strategic plan goals that fit with what we were doing in terms of our duties, responsibilities, and our mission, but we also took the public knowledge report that was developed by library staff, myself included in that project. And those were the questions developed by the Harwood Institute that look at what the community's hopes are for itself, potential challenges, and potential solutions. And we incorporated this knowledge into our plan. And in fact, I went through the exercise for those of you who were here at the time. We went through this exercise at a community activities commission where I asked this commission all 10 of the questions, and we went through to talk about what we saw for our community and what we felt as residents and we're seeing from visitors. So these are some of the things that we heard in the plan. And again, this is fun to go back and review because so many of these things we're actively doing. It's really great. So we heard from the community that people want to feel familiar. they want to know each other, that they're looking for an overall change in mindset, no more us versus them type of thing, our Carmel instead of my Carmel. And when you look back just to this very meeting and we think about what's going on at the farmers market now, where we know our vendors, where we see each other every Thursday, it's happening. It's like really great. So the other concerns and obstacles that we heard from people were that people felt siloed rather than connected. A lot of tourists, the local community feels diluted, that people didn't know their neighbors, and that the community is happening behind closed doors. And then, which I think the pandemic has probably exacerbated this a little bit, but also we're seeing groups like Carmel Neighbors, Carmel Cares have come out of the pandemic. Those groups are coming to our meetings now so that we are actually engaging. I mean, this is the highest attendance we've ever had since as long as I've been participating in community activities meetings. So I think some of that, there's a sea change there, I hope, and that will continue. There's a disconnect between people who want to do something and people who are offering that thing. And then no connection between voice and action. The city listens, but doesn't do anything. And I think, again, this commission is kind of a testament to the sea change there. And you can see that in our attendance and some of the conversations we're engaging with people to make things happen. Like, how can we do things? How can we make things better? So that is really gratifying to see. Actions that will make a difference, things that were identified in this knowledge report were improvements of gathering spaces so that people can gather without a specific purpose. Hopefully someday we open the library doors. We have a new meeting room there, which will be great, our gathering space. That'll be terrific. Carmel Cares and Dale are going to be working on making improvements to Devendorf Park. That'll be nice. We'll spruce it up, have a little makeover there. Increasing the number of community events. With the pandemic, we weren't really able to do that, but we have not dropped the conversation about how to do that in and around the farmers market. And the farmers market in the pandemic has become key for us, which I think is really good. And it may not have happened without the pandemic. We may not have seen that as, we would have seen it as an opportunity, but not have focused so much energy on making it so important to the work we do and recognizing the opportunity it provides us on a weekly basis to engage with our community members, to support other community groups coming to the market and doing outreach. So I think there's still opportunities once the pandemic's over to build in more community events in and around the farmers market, but also thinking again about concerts in the park, street dances. We still have those opportunities, and I think we shouldn't lose sight of them. The establishment of some sort of community liaison process, providing a central point of communication between the community groups and residents. I think this commission's doing a great job of that, kind of inadvertently, without stating that's what we're doing. We have kind of taken on that role, and I think that's wonderful. Other things that came up were welcome packet and community ambassadors. We did include community ambassadors in our strategic plan. I can't remember, I don't think we had welcome packet in there. That's something that the library board has been focusing on, but definitely something that we can work with them on in terms of making people feel inclusive from the included in our community from the get-go. So big conclusions and takeaways are that we are, and I kept the words library in here on purpose, the library, city, and community, because I wear two hats as your library and community activities director. I've got the library department and community activities department, and there's a lot of overlap between what these departments do in terms of outreach and community engagement. I know a number of you on this commission are library users and have books out right now. So I like to keep those and think about ways that I can integrate these two things together. The library, when we presented this, and I think that me, again, as a person that wears two hats, has been committed in both of those realms to explore how to build partnerships so we can achieve some of these outcomes, engage community in actual conversations and listen, and start to incorporate people into that community conversation process as moderators and note takers. We kind of got stuck on that one with the pandemic. but I think that we can look at that going forward in terms of making sure that we're still engaging the community, asking their opinions, and making sure that we've got the temperature before we engage in any huge, large initiatives. And then we have been addressing, low-hanging fruit types of items, just looking back at those aspirations and challenges, how we've been meeting these. We've been really diving into that. So I think that's absolutely terrific. So moving on to what our actual goals were that came out of this, where goal 1 was consider opportunities for new communication tools. I mean, communication is absolutely key for anything that we do to make sure there's a back and forth, people know what's happening. Goal 2, embrace opportunities, diversity of events and social gatherings to encourage community interactions. Goal 3 was to enhance and protect the natural environment and village character. And goal 4 was to assess the natural environment and develop long-range planning for maintenance and enhancement to include pathways, parks, right-of-ways, and walkways. And these last 2, of course, are because so much of what the Community Activities Commission does and works with is outdoors. We are out in our public spaces when we think about these events, whether it's the farmers market every week or home crafters or surf about down on the beach that we approve. So, and please stop me if you guys have any thoughts. I know this is a lot, and I'm going to try to not go on for too much longer. You have included in the packet the full strategic plan, and I just broke it up goal by goal. For the most part, we either have everything in progress or we have completed things. For our first year objectives under goal number 1, we continue to improve our in-house communications, so utilizing the Friday letter. We're going to be doing a additional, hopefully weekly thing going forward, meet your vendors section in the Friday letter for the farmers market. So thinking along those lines, I hope you noticed the ad that we put in for the farmers market last week for Valentine shopping. And any other initiatives that we undertake, trying to get the word out to the broader community in all the ways that we can think of, whether it's post office postings, again, pine cone ads, or Friday letter. Our second year objective there was to work with City Hall for a social media policy and a plan to utilize Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're still not there yet. City Hall's still not there yet, but I think it's something to keep on our radar and to work with our partners who do have that capability. So for instance, Goodroots Inc., who manages our market, is establishing a social media presence. The library does have a social media presence and has been working on that. Same with some of our other supporters like the Carmel Chamber and Residents Association. So there's other ways for us to get the word out that's not just us having our own account and posting. So there's other opportunities there. We just need to make sure we've got, just like we do when we send out our meeting invites for these meetings, our community groups and the press list, that we have, who are we sending these things out to as kind of mini press releases or notifications or making friends with on social media so that our voice is amplified. So there's opportunities there. For goal 2, we started with an ad hoc committee with the Chamber of Commerce for the Halloween parade and city birthday, and that got sidelined. I think that in concept, having ad hoc committees to work on our special events and do outreach to community groups and partner with them. More partnerships it's absolutely terrific. It keeps people engaged and there's lots of good opportunities there. Making sure that we survey the groups who participate in our events and get that good after action feedback so that we can continue to make improvements. Foster smaller events. That was a big thing that we heard initially, 5 years ago when the library took over the community activities department. The focus was very much on large scale events that would bring tourists and foot traffic to town. And when we did those community surveys, what we heard a lot of was we want smaller events for locals like a street dance on a Thursday or something like that, not large grand events that shut the whole town down for the day type of thing. So I think we're still working on that, especially with the farmers market. Develop a pilot program for our community events. I think with the farmers market, we're doing that, and we can start to think about what do those things look like. That was something we put in, and I think we've discussed numerous times on, in terms of not duplicating efforts. We had been thinking about developing our own new small programs, but we have a great community that does programs. The Carmel Public Library Foundation, the Women's Club does a great lecture series. The Carmel Residents Association also does one. So without duplicating efforts, what is there a need for in our community in terms of pilot programs for smaller types of things? So something for us to think about for future. And then we did complete revising guidelines for farmers market and issuing a request for proposals for the management. So yay. So we've got that one actually scratched off our list. So with the enhancing and protecting the natural environment, I think one of the important things is remaining aware at all times of the use of our public spaces, especially in terms of special events. What are the impacts? Our policies, the way they're written, a big part of the reason is to make sure that the wear and tear on our public spaces, in particular Carmel Beach, which is one of our greatest natural assets, is not ruined or diminished or damaged because of large scale special events. And if we change any of our policies or make any recommendations, how will those affect our partners in enforcement? So the police department, are we coming up with rules and regulations that simply are not enforceable, even if they're, sound like a good idea? So being aware of that. And this is something that I think is in process. I've got, we had an ad hoc committee made up of Judy and Linda to work on the special events policy, which kind of got sidelined. And you'll hear from me at the next Community Activities Commission meeting and the following City Council meeting regarding the policy updates and a new section of the municipal code that will govern special events. So that's coming forward, and that will satisfy goal 3. And then for number 4, assessing the natural environment and developing long-range planning, begin discussing how to improve the usability of Devendorf Park and work to develop a plan for the space going forward. I marked that as in progress. We were talking about a project idea that I'd come up with that we had preliminary sketches for, to create a plaza area and in effect shut down. And this is just, again, preliminary discussions, but create kind of a plaza-like atmosphere and expand Devendorf Park out to the library, and shut down part of 6th Street where the farmers market's currently held. So that was one project. Now we have Carmel Cares, who are going to be taking care of Devendorf Park and making improvements, which I think is terrific. And I'm glad that they are engaging with us on that. And I'm looking forward to working with them. And then anytime we make, just as we saw with the Carmel Hearts project, anything we think about in terms of Devendorf Park or any of our other spaces, being sure that we're working with our other departments, the Public Works Department, the Planning Department, and those respective boards and commissions before we approve anything or move forward with anything, so that we're all in good communication and we're not coming up with something that's going to be sidelined, or just we've got all of our engagement inboxes ticked. And so that being said, since I've just talked for a great length of time, my recommendation as we start this process, one is, I think our 2019-2021 plan overall, despite the pandemic, was pretty successful. I mean, we've really developed the farmers market. We've taken a look at, in a completely different way, what community engagement is. And I'm looking forward to developing a new strategic plan. That was a 2-year plan, and we're kind of running towards the end of that. I'd like to see us do a 3-year plan instead, because I think this was a successful exercise and we didn't let it fall by the wayside. We kept up with our 6-month reviews and check-ins to see if we needed to amend anything. So I think what I would recommend to the commission to think about is to start the process of reviewing, not at this meeting, not right now. This is just the start. But at subsequent meetings, reviewing and amending our goals and objectives So what are we going to keep? What are we going to, what do we think is completed, or what do we think just really isn't matching where we are right now? Or we thought initially in that first strategic plan that it was something we needed to engage with, or that it fit in with our mission and duties and responsibilities. And we don't see it that way anymore. So what needs to go? And I think we need to do some community outreach, maybe surveys at the farmers market. I know I keep harping on the farmers market, but again, anything we do with surveys, we can send out through the Friday letter and look to our community partners to amplify that, and just do a check-in with the community. Where are they with their hopes, and what do they see, you know, how are the challenge in this new landscape? What are the challenges? They're different. How can we meet those needs? And what do they see as potential solutions, and how can the Community Activities Commission engage with those and better support our community? So that would be my recommendation to this commission, and I will open it up for discussion and stop talking.
Wow, thank you, Ashley. That was a lot. And,
it is a lot, yes.
Great job summarizing it. There's a lot of stuff that, I think we need to carry over and we need to work on. And I think that's a great idea, and working on that in the next few meetings would be a good idea, like, you know, updates on the Scout House, and, you know, because the pandemic stopped a lot of the stuff that we were doing and the momentum we had on some of this stuff, but it helped in other stuff, because you said we have, you know, the most attendance. Well, I think we have the most attendance because people can now Zoom in, or not Zoom, but, you know, come into our meetings from wherever they are. They don't have to take time out of their day, and they can jump in. And so that, I think that's been a benefit to us, to let everybody come, because otherwise it was a very small, narrow group. And now we have a broader range. So that's good. So everybody, I'll let everybody chime in. Nobody wants to chime in.
Did I send everybody up? I knew I should have put strategic planning at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, I have nothing further to add.
Donna.
Yes, I went through it, and I thought the committee put together a great plan, and I also thought that the editing that Ashley did was great. And I made notes on some of the additions are different things, like we have to work with the Forest and Beach, and Carmel cares for Devendorf Park. And so I think the new committee who works on the next one has an excellent base and an easier time to put it together. And I had some thoughts on sharing for instance, the Friday letter or any questionnaires that come to the Carmel Foundation or the library, and see if they would share their email list to send it out. So more people get the questionnaire about the farmers market, to go to these groups and say, hey, would you send out the questionnaire? And I think you'd really reach a wide audience.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Donna. I mean, I think, again, and the group that put that together did a great job, not knowing what we'd be walking into, but I think we've executed to the best of our capability to date. And I think there's still a lot of work to be done. But one of the things we talk about a lot is not, reinventing the wheel. So I think as we evolve the next multiple year plan, taking into account the new resources that we have in the community to help us, to Donna's point, maybe it's Devendorf Park and Carmel Cares, whatever it may be, let's make sure we identify those and create, strong partnerships with those groups in terms of the execution. Because I think probably what won't change is potentially the number of employees the city has at their avail to assist us in this. So I think it's going to be more on us and the community groups going forward. So I'm all for it. I think, happy to dig deeper over the next couple sessions, but congrats to the group that put that together, and it's fun working on this with everybody.
Ellen, did I see you wave your hand? Yeah.
You're muted, Ellen.
Still muted. Although it appears she's not, but we can't hear her.
If you want to put your comments in the comment box, that could work too, and then I'll read them out. All right, so if you can't see it for everybody, great plan. I look forward to working with everyone on it. I think well, Judy, I'll let you open it up to public comment, and then I'll propose a little timeline for all of us.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Yes, open to public comment.
This is Nancy speaking, and just wanted to reinforce that whatever we can do on behalf of Carmel Residents Association to support, to participate, to extend the reach, please sign us up. I will look forward to helping.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Any other public comments? Dale?
Ashley, very nice job. I'm really anxious to get you started on your conversational interactions with the community again, because I thought that was excellent before when you did that, and you're very good at it.
Yeah, Dale was one of my participants, and one of the most challenging conversations I had, it was the CARB group, Carmel Area Businesses and Residents, and it was quite formidable. I can't count how many former council members and mayors we had in that group. I walked in there and felt like a deer in headlights, but it was quite the conversation, I must say. It was, at the end, very enjoyable. So yes, I would like to get back to conducting these conversations and to get this group engaged with that as well. I think it's really important to remember that, and I tend to do this too, we have expert knowledge with our policies and our procedures and all of that, but making sure that we balance that out with public knowledge and what the public actually, what their reality is really, really, really important. Because what we might think is important completely, is a 5-body group and 2 staff members here might be completely different than what the greater community is thinking. So that is important to do. So to that end, I would like to propose that we look at coming back in March with a new community survey. I'll come back with a little mini plan for that and a timeline. And I think with the goal of adopting a new strategic plan in June. I think that should give us plenty of time to do some outreach with the community, potentially do some community conversations, and then kind of go, I know it sounds torturous, but I'll try to make it as painless as possible, but we can go goal by goal and just take our old plan and just carry things over as we need, tweak the goals. So maybe a little homework assignment for all of you is to take a look at that. And as Donna did already, start scritching things all over that piece of paper. If you need a printout, just let me know and I'll make sure you get them. I know some people don't have printers at homes. And that way we can get the ball rolling and I can start incorporating those things into changes. And like I say, by June, there's no rush, but I do find it to be helpful. And this is the kind of document that I look towards, especially since we're not so much focused on, especially outside organizers and special event permitting, actually, community engagement. It informs how I do my budget requests. So I'll be keeping this plan in mind as we go forward with that. So stay tuned.
Thank you. All right, last item. Receive updates and discuss the 2021 special events calendar for the city of Carmel-by-the-Sea. And Ashley put together a nice little calendar.
Yes, well, Leslie put together a nice little calendar.
Thank you, Leslie.
So we made the update too from the last meeting on Gourmet Fest, because that one was a holdover from the old days where it used to be held on public property. with the state, Monterey County is still in the purple tier. Our vaccine rollout's going pretty slowly. So at this point, I don't really have any updates except to say that I've been in communication with all of our event organizers at this point. We've talked about, potentially shifting dates to later in the fall in some cases. Other event organizers are like, let's get the permit process started so it's done and we're ready. So we're engaging on that. And that's in terms of our outside special events. And in terms of our internal special events, I think I mentioned last meeting, this would be the time when we are starting to think about engaging a band for the 4th of July and thinking about that. Not quite sure about the 4th of July this year. It seems a little early with the pace that the vaccine rollout's going. And I think large scale outdoor gatherings are probably going to be one of the last things to come back, even though it is outdoors. So again, keeping tabs on this. And at the very least, we'll try to be as nimble as possible, with 4th of July being our biggest event coming up. So, and then, I see a comment.
Yes, I was wanted to make that comment too that Nancy just posted, because she's right. I wanted to know if anybody had come to you about Car Week, because they are promoting it already online.
Yes, they are promoting it. So I've had preliminary conversations with a representative from the Pebble Beach Tour de Elegance and with our event organizer for the Tuesday event, the Concours on the Avenue. Concours on the Avenue is very hopeful. One of the things we did talk about, again, is the layout now of town with the parklets. That's going to be an additional thing for some of our event organizers to think about in terms of planning their layout. So they're very hopeful and they would like to proceed and move forward with planning for that. And as would Pebble Beach, but again, the landscape has changed and whether or not we can actually hold those types of gatherings in town. So it's a very tentative process. I think that as much as we can do with the schedule and having that in place is a good thing, knowing logistically how much goes into planning for Car Week and getting cars here and how early that has to start in the advertising. So I understand why that's happening now. But it may be just like with this time last year that we're going to have to play it by ear through the spring. I think we didn't have any full-on announcements about the state of Car Week until late in April. I went back and checked through my records for last year, so I kind of knew, what the mindset was for all of us. And now we have kind of a little bit more advanced knowledge, and we've got the vaccine. So those are factors that may, slow the timeline for that or increase it, as to when we're going to know definitively whether or not we can have Car Week this year. And I say that whether we can have Car Week this year in the same form and with the same structure pre-pandemic. We may have Car Week, but we may also be having very limited attendance, for instance, like the AT&T, which is being held this weekend, which is just the pros and no spectators type of thing. Same with the Super Bowl. So it may look vastly different where it's very localized things that are private, ticketed only, and there's no big public things. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but all of these things in my conversations with event organizers are on the table in terms of virtual and things. And I can see Ellen's doing her thing with the city of Monterey, so she's well aware of this, and with Pebble Beach, so she understands what that looks like in terms of the uncertainty still. And that's what I have.
Thank you. Anyone, any other comments or questions? All right, what do we want to put, any future agenda items that anyone wants to have on? All right, well, we can always add them. All right, Ashley, thank you.
Yeah, if you think of any future agenda items or anything we missed, just give me a call. For right now, we've got, we'll have, for the next meeting, I'll send out, it will be, let's see, where's my calendar? We're meeting every 2 weeks now. So our next meeting will be
February 23rd.
Yes. Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Our next meeting will be February 23rd. At that meeting, we will hear from Leadership Carmel and hopefully have most, if not all, of the details locked down on some of those questions that staff had, and we'll be able to present those to you. And that'll probably be our main focus at that meeting. I'd like to, because we are having special meetings, I did check in with the city clerk, and just as kind of a point of order, I'd like to keep some of our regular business items on our regular meeting schedule as long as they're not pressing. So you'll see strategic planning coming back at the March regular meeting. Minutes will be at the regular meeting, and we'll use those special meetings in the middle of the month to check in on special events. Anything that's super time sensitive, like the Leadership Carmel project, which, you know, they've got a time goal for thinking about the summertime. So that's what I've got so far.
All right.
All right,
John?
thank you all.
Oh, no, I'm good. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Oh, wait.
Ashley.
I see that Ellen has a comment. What about teaming with Sunset Center from Live from the Lot if they start up that series again? I actually did have a conversation with them about live music, that doing that at the farmers market. I know everything's farmers market these days. So we did talk about that. And if they start that series up again, because they are thinking about that. And I did review the parameters of live music. And right now it's tied in with restaurants. So I'm going to keep my eye on live music in public places because there's very specific guidelines with regards to how far apart the musicians are. And if you're playing a certain kind of instrument or you're singing a song, then it increases the distance that people have to be away from each other. So it's a whole can of worms with anything more than we've got at the farmers market, which is a guitar player and a singer. Oh, fairgrounds are starting up. Interesting. All right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.